Hello and welcome back to Flavor Sessions. I'm Teree and I am really glad that you are here today because today's episode is one of those episodes that could change your cooking immediately. And I mean like tonight. And I love episodes like that because I know what it feels like to cook, to be tired, to be hungry, and to be trying to feed yourself or your family, and you don't have time for lessons. You just want the food to taste good. You want it to feel satisfying. You want it to feel like a real meal, not just something you threw together. So today we're talking about umami, and specifically how it fixes that moment when your food can be seasoned but still tastes flat. Because if you've ever cooked something and thought it's salty, it's cooked, it looks right, yeah, but something still seems to be missing. That moment, that feeling, you are not alone. And no, you're not a bad cook. A lot of times you're just missing one thing, and that one thing is depth. And depth is often umami. So let's get right into it. What does umami really mean? And this is no chef talk. I'm going to keep it simple. When most people hear the word umami, they think of two things. They either think it's some fancy chef term, or they think it's something only found in Asian food. But the truth is, umami is one of the 5 basic tastes, just like sweet, salty, and bitter. And the easiest way I can describe it is, let's see, umami is the taste that makes food feel complete. It's that that you do without thinking. It's satisfaction. It's the flavor that makes a dish feel like it has structure, like it has a backbone. And it's not loud. That's what people get wrong. Umami doesn't hit you like acid, it doesn't pop like salt, and it doesn't burn like spice. Umami sits underneath the flavor like foundation. I would say umami is like the bass line in music. You might not notice it right away, but if it's missing, the whole song feels thin. So what does umami taste like? This is one of the most common questions. And here's the truth. It doesn't taste like one thing. Umami tastes like fullness. It tastes like depth. It tastes like that flavor that makes you feel like you just ate something real. If sweet is the top note and acid is the sparkle, umami is the grounding. It's the reason you can taste something and feel like it's finished. Now let's clear up one of the biggest misunderstandings. Umami is not salt. Salt turns flavor up and umami builds flavor out. Salt is like a volume knob, and umami is more like giving the dish a backbone, like I said before. And this is why you can have food that is salty but still tastes flat, because salt doesn't create depth. It enhances what's already there. So if you've ever found yourself adding salt over and over, but the flavor still isn't coming together, it might not need salt at all. It might need an umami anchor. What does flat mean? Okay, well, let me give you some examples. Flat can mean the flavor stops too soon. The taste feels thin. The dish feels unfinished, like you're missing something. And your seasoning might feel separated. Flat food is often what happens when you've built flavor too late, or you didn't develop a good base, or you skipped a depth ingredient. You relied only on salt and pepper. And I want to be clear, salt and pepper do matter, but they are not the full story. I'm going to give you a little science. Not too much, I promise, just enough to make it make sense. Umami is triggered by natural compounds like glutamate, isonate, and guanylate. And yes, that is a mouthful, I know. Your tongue has receptors designed to detect them. So umami is not imaginary, it's not a chef made up word. Your body has a built-in way to detect savory depth. And this is where I just have to stop and say, nature and humanity, our bodies are really something special if you just stop and think about it. But what is even more interesting is that some ingredients don't just contain umami. They become more umami rich as they cook or as they age, ferment, or brown. So that's why cooked tomatoes taste deeper than raw tomatoes. Aged cheese tastes deeper than fresh cheese, and roasted mushrooms taste better than just raw mushrooms. Umami loves transformation. So you might be asking yourself, well, where does this show up for me in real life? And I get it. So now let's talk about what's in your pantry. So you might have tomato paste. That's an umami anchor. Cooked tomatoes, mushrooms as we discussed, miso paste, soy sauce, or tamari, broths, fish sauce, fermented foods, seaweeds. These are what we call umami anchors because they do exactly that. They anchor flavor. They stop food from tasting like it's floating. And the reason I love this concept is because it's repeatable. You don't need a perfect recipe. You need a tool you can use in any dish. So let's be honest. People ask this all the time, and you're saying, okay, well, what do they ask? Why restaurant food tastes better. That is what they ask. And it's not because restaurants are using secret ingredients that you can't access and they have under lock and key. No, that's not it. It's because they're building depth early. Restaurants build flavor like architecture. They brown their ingredients, toast paste, reduce liquids, simmer for long periods of time, and they layer fat, aromatics, and umami. A lot of home cooks build flavor at the very end. They cook everything, taste it, and then they try to fix it. But restaurants build flavor from the beginning. And you can do that too. So I'm going to give you a checklist, and this is the flat food fix. So number 1, if it's missing brightness, add acid. If it's missing fullness, you need depth, umami. If it's missing smoothness, add fat. If it's missing aroma, add aromatics or herbs. If it's mixing texture, add something crunchy or creamy. Flat food usually doesn't need more salt. It needs balance and depth. And umami is one of the fastest ways to get there. So I'm going to give you some real life examples that you can use on tonight. And our first example is going to be soup. It smells good, it looks good, but when you taste it, it tastes like warm vegetables floating in water. That's when you add an umami anchor. So let's try these things. Let's try adding a spoon of miso, a splash of soy sauce, sauteed mushrooms, a Parmesan rind, a tiny drop of fish sauce. And yes, I said fish sauce. And you're only adding drops. You're not trying to make it taste like fish soup. Okay? Just use it correctly. And it's going to give it more umami. It's just a background note. It's not the main melody. And I want to also add one other thing here that you can do. You can add some red wine. Now, most people think of wine as more of an acid, but red wine, when it ages, it starts to take on some of the chemical aspects of umami. So if you want to add in some red wine to your soup, that could also help too. Okay, second example, beans. If you're making beans, and they are perfect for umami to play in. If your beans taste plain, try adding tomato paste, and we want to toast it in oil first for about 30 seconds. Or saute some mushrooms once again. Soy sauce or miso, caramelized onions. One other thing that you could do, roast some garlic and throw in there. Beans love umami because they have so much surface area to absorb flavor. And when beans get that depth, suddenly your meal feels complete. Example number 3, tomato sauce. And here is the cheat code. I have said it before. You're going to toast some tomato paste, and this is for like a red sauce. And that's before you add any tomatoes, before you're adding broth, before you're adding water. And how to do this is just put your oil in the pan, let your pan warm up, put in your paste, and cook it, like I said, for about 30 seconds to a minute. What you're looking for the color to darken, for a deeper smell, and a warm, rich aroma. Then you can put in your other liquids. And that one step makes your sauce taste like it's been cooking for hours. And I know you're asking me, well, Teree, what if I don't have all those ingredients? What can I use? And that is a common question. And it's okay. Remember, umami isn't just one ingredient. It is an entire category of things. So simple swaps, and I keep going back to the examples that I use, but you can swap tomato paste instead of Parmesan, or you could do soy sauce instead of fish sauce. If you don't have any meat, you can use mushrooms, or if you don't have any mushrooms, you can use meat. Broth instead of water, and you can also use fermented vegetables instead of really heavy seasonings. The goal is not perfection, the goal is depth. Now, I do want to speak to all our plant-based cooks out there for a moment because this is where umami changes everything. One of the biggest complaints people have when they eat more vegetables is it tastes healthy, but it doesn't feel satisfying. And that's because so many plant-based meals are missing umami anchors. When you add umami, suddenly vegetables stop feeling like side dishes. They feel like meals. And so you can do many other things that I suggested before. And, instead of fish sauce, you can add a vegan fish sauce. I know some of those things are out there too. Or you can also look at adding liquid aminos or aminos. So those are some of the other things that you can also add. Now, I'm going to talk about this because this is where our last episode on fat connects beautifully. I'm going to talk about fat and umami. Fat carries aroma, umami carries depth. Together, they create satisfaction. That is why butter and Parmesan work, sesame seed oil and soy sauce work so well, olive oil and tomato paste work so well, and coconut milk and miso works. Your food tastes complete because your flavor has structure. Here are some common mistakes that people make with umami. The first being adding too much. If you add too much soy sauce or fish sauce, you can overwhelm the dish. So remember, I mentioned before, we're not trying to make fish soup or make your soup taste fishy. You want to add just enough because umami can be powerful with some of these ingredients. So think of it more like adding seasoning, not like a sauce. Mistake number 2, you add it too late. Some umami ingredients taste better when cooked into the base, not dumped in at the end. So I will give you an exception, miso. Miso, you want to wait till probably about the last 10-15 minutes of cooking to add that in, because you do not want that flavor to cook out. Mistake number 3, confusing umami with salt. And we discussed this too. Umami is not salt. You can have a dish that needs salt, but you don't want to use salt as a replacement for depth. So I'm going to challenge you on tonight. Here is your flavor homework. Take one meal you already cook, pasta, soup, beans, whatever it might be. Add one umami anchor, just one. Taste what happens. And I want you to get a piece of paper and actually write this down so that you remember. Write down what umami anchor it was and how it tastes after you added it. Your goal isn't louder flavor. Your goal is deeper flavor. So in closing, I'm just going to remind you, umami is the taste that makes food feel complete. It's your backbone, your anchor, and it creates depth. And when you learn how to use it, you stop cooking in panic and you cook with confidence. Thank you guys for listening and tasting bravely. And in the next flavor session, we're going to zoom out and we're going to focus on the flavor forecast for this year. What is shaping the way we cook, eat, and think about food in this year ahead? Stay tuned.